Mere Conservatism.
And welcome to another edition of Mere Conservatism. I'm Cleve Walker and David Perry. David, did you know that today is Transgender Day of Visibility Day? Actually, it's a few days ago. It wasn't today. It was Transgender Day of Visibility.
Well, I did know that because I happened to, I went ahead and put up my Transgender Day of Disability Day tree.
All right.
And we're doing a trans egg hunt.
Well, this is
to celebrate.
This, like everything else about the progressive movement, is both humorous to us, but also it's deadly serious. And I think you'll get why I'm going that direction. President Biden's administration a few days ago released a series of documents that encouraged gender reassignment surgery and hormone treatments for minors.
Like coal, gold.
No, minors. We're talking about below legal age kids.
Young people.
Okay. Anyway, so the Department of Health and Human Services released a document called Gender Affirming Care for Young People. Now, I want to let you hear something. You and I, it's been a while since we've had a lot of news sounder on our program, and least of all, Joe Biden. But Joe Biden released a video and statement, at least the White House did, of him affirming this day. And I want you to hear it. So here you go.
To everyone celebrating Transgender Day of Visibility, I want you to know that your president sees you. Jill, Kamala, Doug, our entire administration sees you for who you are, made in the image of God and deserving of dignity, respect, and support.
Let me stop it right there for a second. Made in the image of God? Don't you hate it when the progressives bring God into this?
Well, yeah, they are made in the image of God.
Yes,
and the image of God has been perverted.
Yeah,
and it has been destroyed. And he's advocating mutilating that image.
Yeah, and again,
destroying that.
And again, in kids. Okay, it's bad enough as adults, but it's kids. So let me play it one more time and let me go to the next part.
To everyone celebrating Transgender Day of Visibility, I want you to know that your president sees you.
Sees you.
Jill, Kamala, Doug, our entire administration sees you for who you are, made in the image of God and deserving of dignity, respect, and support. But we know it's hard when there are those out there who don't see you and don't respect you. For example, the onslaught of anti-transgender state laws attacking you and your families is simply wrong. This administration is standing up for you against all these hateful bills. And we're committed to advancing transgender equality in the classroom, on the playing field, at work, in our military, in our housing and healthcare systems, everywhere, simply everywhere. Today, we're announcing even more steps, but there's always more work to do to end the epidemic of violence against transgender women of color and girls of color, to ensure transgender seniors can age with dignity, and to finally pass a bipartisan Equality Act, to help transgender persons around the world live free from discrimination and violence. Above all, to be there with you. To parents of transgender children, affirming your child's identity is one of the most powerful things you can do to keep them safe and healthy. To any transgender American who's struggling, please know that you're not alone. To parents and children alike, please ask for help. And know this, you're so brave, you belong, and we have your back.
So many things to say.
God bless you all.
You know, these kinds of things don't affirm somebody's identity. They actually deny their identity.
Do you realize you just became one of the people they're trying to protect these transgenders from?
Yes, I do. I know.
You really do. You are.
The language they use it's so ironic. You know, the language is ironic because they are not affirming identity. They are not supporting their true identity. They are denying their actual identity with these things. They're mutilating themselves in many cases. The Florida bill, he mentioned the Florida legislation that has gone through. You do realize that all that is saying that teachers can't instruct 5-year-olds in gender ideology.
Oh, no.
That's all it is.
No, it's saying you can't say gay. That's what it's saying. Where'd you get your information from?
Yeah, exactly. See, so there are a lot of idiots out there that believe that because the media has parroted it, because the left has decided to label it the Don't Say Gay bill, even though that's not even close to what it really is. It's about classroom instruction. It's saying teachers can't teach your children about this stuff and indoctrinate them, basically, which the left reacting against the Florida bill is, frankly, super creepy.
Oh, yeah. I mean, but listen to what he said. I mean, of course, he didn't write that. He doesn't write or do anything anymore on his own. But here's what the movement, to me, let me see in this proclamation for Transgender Day of Visibility. David, and this is horrible, and I knew it, and you knew it, but they are after our kids.
Yeah.
What they have told parents is, it is not your responsibility. It is the state's responsibility to raise your kids.
Not only that, is we're here to protect them from you.
From you. I mean, this is what won the governor's race in Virginia, and this is the thing that's the groundswell around the nation. And what Biden and company, what the progressives have done, they see this, but they are doubling down. And David, I believe the reason they are doubling down is because it's all part of their narrative. They have opened our borders, letting in brand new Democrat voters, they feel, that way, but they're also making sure the next generation coming up literally will be a generation not only of entitlement, but finding their total identity and value defined by the government, not God, even though they used his name, I think, in a blasphemous way. But so I guess what I'm trying to say is, again, it shows the progressives are looking at this as for the long haul. Yeah. They may not get you, but if they can get your kids, they got the country.
Yes, and that's why they really don't like the Florida bill. It's not because it's bad for kids; it's because it prevents them from indoctrinating the kids.
That's what
it's not because it hurts anybody. It's because it could stand in the way of them getting their indoctrination to these little kids and transing all the kids and convincing them, misleading them that their identity is something other than what it really is, and driving a wedge between these children and their parents. They really want to do that. In fact, there's been a lot of audio coming out this week from Disney people.
Oh, you
and the things that they're doing, and they're not so secret gay agenda. That's their words that they have in their programming. It's not.
Yeah, but see,
not good.
Now Disney is one thing, and Sonny bringing it up because that's definitely on our agenda right now.
Problem.
But before we get to that, let's keep it here in this realm, because Disney is a corporation, a private business or profit business, which it doesn't excuse it, but it's different than when the government of our nation, the government that the Constitution sets certain bounds on, it's different when they come out and advocate something and then say, we're going to force you to agree with what we're advocating. See, so the corporation getting woke, that's bad. Don't get me wrong. We're going to touch on that. But when our government, with all the powers at its disposal, decides this is what you're going to believe, we're woke, and not only are we woke, but we're going to pass laws that will make you woke or make you want to be woke, then that's a different thing. And again, David, they're after our kids. Mm-hmm. They're after because they know, again, if they can get this next generation coming up, they may lose a battle or two now. They may lose some midterms. They may even lose the next presidential election. But they have the future. Mm-hmm. If they have a generation of people who believe that their identity is defined by what unelected or even elected bureaucrats and politicians say. So I guess that's
about
what
power. It's about power for them. So just like a lot of other things the left does, they look around for opportunities for themselves to seize power, mm-hmm. and they think that they have found one here,
and they have,
and they're going to use civil rights, quote unquote, to destroy the foundation of Western values, Christianity especially, and it's very, very ugly. It's evil.
Well, and this is why, and you've talked about this before, and I think a lot of people poo-poo a lot of the things you say because you come from a certain angle, okay? But I guess what I'm trying to say is this is why I say you cannot make peace with this progressive movement. You cannot compromise with them because they're not in this to compromise or to make peace.
People have noticed that by now.
I don't think they have, David. We still have people, and God forbid, a lot of them are in the American church, who feel that we can reach across the aisle and they will reach across to us and we'll find some common ground to work on. And all I'm saying is this shows they don't want common ground.
Yeah.
They don't want compromise. They don't want to just reach across the aisle unless it's to reach over there and smack you in the face. So I think and I believe a lot of folks are starting to wake up too. Not enough, but some of them, David, are.
I feel like at some point the policy position of people needs to be not another inch.
Thank you.
Not another inch.
It's something the GOP needs to learn desperately.
Yes, because this thing is so dangerous for our children, and they are going to create a generation. They're so confused and so in turmoil that the powers that be are going to be able to do pretty much whatever they want to do.
That's what they're after.
Because they're going to have nobody that's capable of handling themselves in the real world. It's terrible. I can't even think about how bad it could get if this kind of thing takes hold and becomes a massive movement. You know, when you look at LGBTQIA, comma, money sign,
whatever.
hashtag, whatever, the numbers of children who are identifying this way is growing exponentially.
Why is that, you wonder?
Because, as we've mentioned, it's a social contagion. Because children are very impressionable, and you can talk them into this stuff.
Yes.
And if you have an agenda like many of these people do, and that's not a conspiracy theory.
Oh, no.
It's obvious.
No.
It's not a conspiracy theory. It's just a conspiracy. They are in the mode of spreading this to young people because they know that young people are malleable, they are impressionable, and that they can convince these kids that these things are true. And it's really bad and it's really ugly. And I got to say, for my kids, this is huge motivation for me to homeschool them, to put them in private school if I can do that, to pull out all the stops to protect my children because they need it now more than ever. Children have always needed to be protected, but
well, in all fairness,
now more than ever.
In all fairness to some school districts, including those in where you're living, Taylor, too, there are some great public schools. There are some great public institutions.
But I don't trust them.
But I'm going to say this: they are becoming fewer and fewer, and open to more and more are being tainted.
And by the way, it can change without you knowing.
Well,
and why would I take that risk?
Well, but this is why I'm glad we have governors, David, who are leading the charge against that by literally saying from the get-go, this cannot be included in the curriculum. Better than that, most of them are saying, and now parents have to have access to that. And they're supposed to have it right now. But now they're making it like mandatory. The parents need to know what you've been teaching.
And now in Florida, if a teacher crosses that line, they can get in big trouble. I'm
especially
sorry,
in the first, second, third grade. I mean, never anyway, but in those grades, that's what they want, though.
It's creepy.
Yeah.
And I don't know how people are getting away with being so outspoken against it without everybody saying, you're creepy. I think a lot of people actually are noticing that.
Well, I think so. Again, the awakening of parents is one of the reasons why there's been a turnaround. And the tanking poll numbers of Biden show something that you and I know, but a lot of our sides still don't realize. The majority of people in this country are not for the progressive movement. It seems that way, again, but because the progressives have an outsized voice of influence. But they're not the majority, David.
Mm-hmm. Nope.
They're not 50%, 20%, or 10% people who identify as transgender in this nation. Okay, that
not
number,
even close.
Right, that number is increasing, but the reality is right now this is a center-right nation, but it's being presented by the media and by our leaders as being a left-leaning progressive nation. That's not true.
And I think that most parents send their kids to school wanting teachers to teach them how to read,
yes,
and how to write, how to do math, those kinds of things, not values that go against their their values. They don't send their kids to school to learn values other than maybe sharing with their being nice to their friends
or hard work.
Yeah, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But even that should be instilled at home. They're being sent there to learn these subjects, not about your love life.
Right. So here's the deal. Again, and just speaking out to anybody right now who's kind of been on the fence on this issue, this is not an issue that we can compromise on with anybody.
Yeah,
we are standing up for the next generation. We're standing up for our kids, our families. Guys, wake up, okay? Because we really need guys to get into the fray on this thing.
Yeah, and if you're one of these people in this community, all we ask is that you don't try to indoctrinate our children.
Yeah, we don't. And that's a good point. I'm glad you brought that up because, believe it or not, just like there are people who self-identify as gay, but who don't believe in gay marriage, there are even people who identify as transgenders, bless their heart, who are not in for the progressive efforts to literally transform everybody else. So again, I don't agree with that. I think it's a delusion. Okay, but there are some even of that bent, David, who recognize what the government is doing. One of them is Caitlyn Jenner. Is that Bruce named himself Caitlyn? Okay,
I think so.
I keep forgetting, but he has, and I don't know if you heard this because it's been kind of like a real big deal. He's now one of the contributors for Fox News. Okay. Yes.
Okay.
But the point is, the reason they chose him is because he is against the biological girls and boys competing in sports. He is against the government forcing parents to do these things. So I guess what I'm trying to say is I'm not saying that makes him cool because, again, that's weird. But even some of them who identify that way are saying, we're not asking the government to transform anybody. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, these folks, especially the transgender individuals, they have my sympathy. Mm-hmm. Leave my kids out of your little issue that you're having. Yeah. Okay, yeah. My kids you mess with my kids, and I don't care if you want me to call you ma'am or whoever you are. Yeah. You're going to be in big trouble when you mess with my kids. And the same thing goes for folks with a homosexual agenda as well. Same thing. I don't have any ill will towards you guys.
Well, we don't. We have pity and concern and compassion.
Yeah, I don't think that your chosen lifestyle is good for you, but I don't have a problem with you existing. Okay, that's not that we're not Saudi Arabia. We're not going to throw anybody off rooftops here,
which would happen.
But you are not going to mess with my kids. You will not.
Well, and here's the thing, David. I refuse, and I think this is good for our kids to see us refuse to do this. I'm not going to address a guy as a lady, even though they identify as that. I'm not going to play their game of using the correct pronouns. I'm not going to do it. There are people, by the way, getting fired in schools for refusing to do that. Mm-hmm. So, again, if you're an adult, I have pity for you, and I pray for you. I have compassion for you. If you identify as transgender, okay, that's one thing. But when you try to influence our kids, our minors, then that's when we really have to say,
now it's time to go to war.
Right,
when you do that kind of thing.
And that's all I'm saying.
And let me just say one last thing about this and that Joe Biden quote. Doug and Jill are not part of the administration.
Thank you. Thank you.
So Joe specifically mentions he and Kamala and then their husband and wife and the whole administration. They're not part of the administration. We didn't vote for them.
No.
Of course, actually, we didn't vote for a lot of the administration either. Those are appointed positions. But I don't think that Jill has actually been appointed to a position, or Doug. Yeah. But that's just a total side note.
That was just tossed in there by the writers to show we really empathize. We really do. My family and I, we really do. Anyway, it's getting back to Disney. Now, Disney, the woke Disney, that has an impact upon me personally. I don't go to Disney a lot. I've been to Disney twice. Okay. But I grew up with Disney. I grew up with the wonderful creativity and imagination that they showed during my childhood. It was wonderful, David. Mm-hmm. Fantastic. So it's with a little extra bit of ache that I see this once really great American company, almost an institution. Look what's happened.
Yeah. So it came out publicly that they were no longer say boys and girls, which, to be honest with you, that's kind of, I don't really care that much if they say boys and girls necessarily. It's not that in and of itself that's such a problem. It's the obvious agenda and pandering that signals. Yeah. What that is pandering to the transsexual movement in the country. That's why it's a problem. Not because I don't care what they say. I really don't. They're not. When I take my girls to Disney World, they're no longer going to call them princesses because maybe they're princes. No, they're princesses, and it's okay that you call them that because you can obviously tell these things. But again, that alone is not as big of an issue as the underlying agenda that they have, which was also made public. Oh yeah, some video came out of
they weren't. It was leaked.
Again, their not so secret gay agenda. Their goal to have 50% of leads.
That's what you said.
Not just characters, but leads in their shows and entertainment properties be LGBTQIA plus minus sign ampersand whatever or POC, person of color. And that's just when they start doing stuff like that and hitting quotas, especially with the LGBTQ whatever, that's getting offensive because you can tell because what they're doing is they have an agenda they're pushing and they're not secret about it anymore.
Not anymore. And again, it goes back to what I was saying earlier as we started our podcast here. They are doing it to get the kids. Disney, I can't think of a company that has more access to our children, and it used to be a good thing to me. Disney has a heritage, both in their films and movies and their TV shows of being wholesome, reaffirming traditional marriage and traditional family. The nuclear family was a big deal for Disney, so I don't have a problem. But now they're using that to get at our kids with all this weirdness, and that's where I'm really hurt. Tell you what, I'm hurt by that.
I don't know about the traditional marriage thing. I mean,
they were. Listen.
Well, look, Cleve. I mean, just you happen upon a stranger in the woods, and she appears to be dead. Kiss her.
That's
okay? So you see. I mean, so some of those things were a little bit out there. No, I see your point, though. I mean,
yes,
I see your point. Okay. What they didn't do, and this is my thing. Okay. So what they didn't do is purposely try to put messages in entertainment for children that was going to go against traditional values and with the express purpose of changing these children's worldview about these things. They didn't do that. Yeah. So, things that are in these stories and the magic, and some of them are scary, and you're kissing apparently dead strangers in the woods and stuff like that is one thing. All that's fine and fun and good. This is a overt now thing that they're trying to do. They're actually trying to change the culture away from what my values are. Yeah. That they're declaring war on you and I, Cleve.
Well, see, I can deal with that, though, David. I can meet them head on. If they want to, present their cultural worldview against mine and put it on the a podium of public exposure, hey, great, let's go for it. But that's not really what bothers me. I'm talking about the little minds and ears that can't process that can't discern that. They're trying to bypass parents, Disney, almost like the progressives are in government, and say we want their ears, we want their hearts, because that's the way we're going to get across our progressive message. That's for me the gauntlet is thrown, and that's what I'm trying to say. As adults, I can take on different viewpoints. Let's talk about it. Let's debate it. Let's go to it. Leave my kids out of this.
Yeah, but won't. No, we're going to go around you. We're going to produce entertainment for your children that just totally throws out your values as a parent. We're going to jettison all that stuff and go around you to your kids instead of, look, I'm not even asking the company to put out entertainment that reinforces my values. Just be neutral.
Yeah.
Tell a good story without trying to indoctrinate my kids. And that's fine. I will handle the values and instilling those things and making sure my kids go to church and know how to pray and realize the importance of Scripture and all those things in their lives. I'll handle that. I'm not even asking you guys to do that. I'm only asking you not to indoctrinate them with the religion of the left, which right now has so much to do with this transgender ideology that is not absolute nonsense. It's hurting everybody. And it's a real problem. You know, when this thing started, Cleve, it was gay marriage doesn't hurt you.
I remember that.
It doesn't have anything to do with you.
How does it impact you?
It doesn't affect you. And Cleve, this was the argument that a lot of opponents made, is that this is where this kind of thing leads because it's the logical progression of where this goes. And a lot of people made fun of that, but here we are. And I'm telling you that what we're going through right now is not the end point, but it is a part of the logical progression of starting to redefine marriage, because you're redefining what men and women are and their roles and how we're made and all that stuff. And this is where we all saw this going. Yeah.
And so anybody who has had some type of daydream that, hey, we can sit this culture war out, we can wait it out, we can wait till the next election, we can even maybe find, again, compromise with those on the other side, understand, as what you just said, it's not possible.
Because where does it go next? Because this is not, like I said, this is not the end point of this ideology. We're smack dab in the middle of it right now. The end point is much, much worse.
It certainly is. So now I say that because, again, what we said earlier, there are signs that people are waking up, David, and I just pray that it's not too late, but they are waking up. Hey, we coming to the end of this broadcast. Tell people to want to hear the podcast again.
Yeah, you can check it out on Apple Podcasts. You can find it on SoundCloud. You can find it on Facebook to search for Mere Conservatism. You can find it on YouTube to search for MereCon Media.
David Perry, and I'm Cleve Walker. Thank you so much for listening to what sounds maybe a little depressing, but hopefully contains a ray of hope in it as people begin to stand up and assert our American rights. Hey, have a fantastic day, and don't give up. Keep the faith. It's not over with yet.